Hey, Eric.
Hey,
Good morning, everyone. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Good morning.
Good morning. I see.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Okay, good. We all can hear me here. Okay, let's see who we have on with us. I see online members. That's me. So just in case y'all see that, and I see Leslie Scurry and Teresa. Half of the stuff I'm sharing, y'all know already, especially you, Leslie, because we talk about it all the time. We need some new people on here.
That's funny.
Okay, Quinn Cousins, Pastor Cousins, okay, just joined us. So I'm gonna hold on until we get a few more folks to join. So, because it's a lot of information to share, and most of it's pretty much presentation. I don't typically like to do a lot of slides in my presentations. It's more informational. Okay, give it another 5 minutes and then I'll just jump right in. So how are you this morning, Miss Leslie?
I'm fine. I just had my oatmeal, so I'm good.
Oh, okay. Okay, did you put some raisins in there?
No, but I had strawberries and blueberries and walnuts and cinnamon.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Okay. That sounds really tasty.
It was. So,
Yeah.
so I'm good. So you can take as long as you need because I'm
Okay. I don't know. We'll do what we can in this presentation. Again, we're still waiting for a few more folks to join us before we jump into the information.
Looks like Pastor Winston's joining us.
Yes.
Good morning, Elder Winston.
Good morning. I'm doing some hopping from room to room to room and checking on people. How you all doing this morning?
We're
fine.
doing excellent.
Oh,
Thank you.
wow.
How are you?
Good. Hey, Miss Leslie.
Hey, Elder Winston, haven't seen you in a minute.
I know. Life is kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
it's working. Our system is working. I've been to 3 or 4 different rooms. I don't know, breakouts, whatever they call them now, and I'm kind of making it around. But I'm glad to see you all this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Certainly,
You are
we certainly
welcome.
appreciate you dropping in, Elder Winston.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yes. Okay, while we wait, guys, Leslie, I guess you work with me, so this information you definitely want to hear it at some point. I'm at the conference. Teresa's also here. We're at the
Hi,
South
Teresa.
Atlanta.
Hey, how's it going today?
Going fine, thanks.
I miss you. Haven't seen you
You
for a while.
And I'm gonna
Since
behave
our
myself.
last,
Yeah, it has been a while. I think I
since
saw
our
you.
last, go ahead. I
It's been a minute. I'm trying to remember last time I saw you. It's been a very long time.
think it was our last business meeting. One of our last ones.
Yeah, it's kind of a blur, but yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because that's the only time I get a chance to come because I'm usually over here.
Yes.
I'm Hope Tab. I go to
Okay.
Hope Tabernacle in
Hope Tabernacle.
Snellville, Georgia.
Okay, Hope Tabernacle, and that's in Snellville. Okay.
So this is a new position for me.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to soak up as much as I can today.
Okay.
I noticed
Okay.
that you guys have 4 sessions. When I looked online,
I believe it's actually going to be 3 sessions. I know Dr. Lamb is doing a session. I believe Lauren Hastings is doing a session on Facebook, I believe. And then I'm doing a session, and I'm Uric. I should change my host name just so people know.
There is another one. There is one on writing tidings articles, and
Okay.
Bryant Taylor from the Southern Union is hosting.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Okay. Yes. So you're right. There are 4 sessions on this. So, Toyin, you're the communication director for Hope Tabernacle.
Yes, yes,
Okay. And you said this is your first time being communication director.
yes. First time.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Good. All right. All right. So I believe it's 10:08 now. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. Um, Again, I appreciate everyone for tuning in, joining this breakout session. This session is how to build an online church community. That's what this session is about. And we're going to talk about different concepts. These are concepts that I've tried over the years. I'm the communication director for the Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Atlanta. I've been in that position now for a year and a half. No, it'll be a year in March. Prior to that, maybe about 10 years ago, I was the media director for Berean Church during the time Pastor Bird was there. But prior to Pastor Bird, when Elder Winston, our current conference president, I was somewhat the unofficial media director, unofficial communication person, because it was there that we started Church Pond Ministries. Pastor Winston and Berean Church, they were the first church to stream online. We were the first church ever. And so we grew from that, pretty much had a global ministry. So over that, and this was in 2002. So over the years, I've learned quite a bit. My background is actually in business. Not so much IT or communication. I've just kind of learned on the job, so to speak. And so, what I've learned, I'm willing to share. I don't know it all, but what I don't know, I typically like to spend a lot of time online researching just to see how things are done. I've always been, I've always had a knack for being tech savvy. So I typically like to stay on the cutting edge of information. And so we're here again in Atlanta. We're at the South Atlantic Conference Studio. We started the studio here about a year ago. And so I've been working with the conference, no, actually 2 years when the pandemic happened. So been working with the conference every Sabbath for the last 2 years. We've been streaming the program here. We started with with one camera. Now we have a full professional studio with 2 cameras plus a jib and computers and laptops and big screens and a video wall. In the near future, we will give a virtual tour of the studio. And so I'm really excited to be a part of that. And I'm really excited to be a part of the South Atlantic Conference, serving in just various capacities. But again, for those who are just joining us, I'd like to know, who's on with us. I see we have a Joyce Thrower. Joyce, how are you this morning? Okay. We also have a Williams Devereaux. I hope I'm pronouncing that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes. How are you this morning, Devereaux?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Good. I'm doing well. And where are you logging on from?
I'm the communication secretary and IT, basically guru for Maranatha Fellowship, SDA Church in Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay. Maranatha Fellowship. Okay. In South Carolina. Okay. All right. Joyce, are you able to, can you hear me, Joyce? Okay, let's see. Let's ask her to unmute.
I actually know Joyce. Joyce is kind of over the communication IT for Shiloh SDA Church in Charleston.
Okay. All right, good. All right, good deal. So I'm gonna throw out some words, some terms that you guys will. I know you'll start hearing these like online church community. Maybe you've heard e-church. I know a lot of folks last year they were throwing around the term e-church because of the pandemic, and a lot of churches were not prepared for the pandemic, and so there was this mad dash to purchase equipment, lighting equipment, sound equipment, to accommodate the new environment that we're in. And so now ministries are finding a way to kind of fine tune that to make it really impactful and relevant, and also transformational. But in order to accomplish, a church to be impactful, to be relevant, we have to be intentional about everything that we're doing in terms of how we present our programming, how we engage with our audience, how we monitor and how we observe our data, which is very important in terms of the building an online community. So there's some key points that I want to bring up this morning. Let me bring up my screen here. Hold on 1 second. Make sure. Where is it? Share screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Have anyone heard the term online church community? Is that a new term for anyone? Or e-church? Anyone familiar with that?
I'm familiar.
Yeah, that's,
You're familiar
E-church
with
is new for me.
it's e-church.
me too.
Yeah,
Okay, you've heard of online church community?
yeah, yeah. I have.
Okay, okay, you've heard of, okay. What have you heard? And that was Deborah. What have you heard about the online church community?
Just being able to have an avenue for those, especially with the pandemic going on, really just more of an outreach resource to have that ability to not only, if you have church in person, to also have church abroad, showing on a multitude of social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Zoom, and whatnot, and kind of branch your ministry through those channels.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to go even further, and I'll just, again, because of my years and just, dealing with, working with online ministries, I've learned quite a bit. When we started Church Pond, it was to reach those who were sick and shut in, to reach those who were overseas, to reach those members who were not able to attend church. We initially started at a university here in Atlanta, the Spelman College. I'm sorry, not the Spelman College, Morehouse. They call it the AU, the Atlanta University Center. So that was a group of students who were Adventists, but they attended, those colleges here in the Atlanta area. And a lot of times they didn't have a way to go to church. And so we found a way to bring the church to them. They didn't have transportation. So we, recorded the services. First, we started recording and then we started doing it live. Over time, what I've learned is as churches progress into the online streaming, the way they typically measure success is by the number of viewers. And so initially churches would say, we have 500 people viewing across the globe. And that is something to be excited about, that you have 500 people who are not in your congregation viewing from around the world. But in addition to that, you not just having 500, you want to engage with those 500. You want to know who they are. So success to me doesn't necessarily mean that we have 1,000 viewers viewing. Success to me is I know who, whether it's one person or 5 or whatever, I know the person on the other end. I have a relationship with them. I know their needs. I know that they need Bible study. I know that they're on the brink of joining the Adventist church. I have information about those individuals viewing and not just, hey, we have people viewing in China, we have people viewing in Russia. You may have that, and that's good, but even better is to know that person viewing in Russia, that they need Bible studies, and you're able to connect with them and you're able to be relevant with them. It's great that you're streaming on YouTube. It's great that you're streaming on Facebook and you see your numbers, but at the same time, you want to be able to engage with those individuals viewing your church service on various platforms. And that's how the online community, that's the whole concept of the online community, being able to be impactful, being able to be relevant, to provide information that's transformational, and to have information about those viewers. Think about even Facebook, or even think about YouTube or Google. They have a profile on each of us here. They know your likes, they know your dislikes, they know programs to push your way. They know programs that you don't care too much about. They know that information. Whereas in the church, and for those companies that I mentioned, success to them is knowing your profile, knowing everything about you. Whereas in the church, success is simply measured, okay, well, we've got so many number of individuals viewing. And today I want to share that we ought to go beyond measuring our success by simply, we've got so many number of people viewing. So I'm going to define what the online church community, what does it mean? Online church community is a place where people can find support, where they feel that their presence and contributions are valued. It's the ability to build relationship with people that you're not able to typically connect with offline. So you're building relationships with people who are online with in your community. And in order to make that happen, you have to be intentional. It doesn't just happen naturally. There's a process of building those relationships. And the question now is, how do you do that? How do you do it on your website? How do you do it on Facebook? How do you do it on YouTube? How do you do it on social media? Again, the whole thing is being intentional. And I will tell you, to all the communication directors listening, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy. Again, I mentioned earlier, I'm the communication director for the Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church in Atlanta. It's really a full-time job in itself. And if you're new to being communication director, in order to make this relevant, your ministry relevant, and to have a real impact, it's going to take a lot of time and resources. And in this current environment, I believe that it's very important that we build an online church community, because you will find that you will have more people viewing your service than those in the audience. Okay, so it's very important that, and I'm going to say this might be a little controversial, but I believe the building the online community and putting resources towards that online community is more important than the funds that are spent on bringing in a praise team, having musicians at your church. It's more important than paying an audio technician. It's more important. And here's why I'm saying it's more important. And because when you look at our current environment, you will see that, again, more people are viewing online. Now, in order to be successful, there are certain resources you have to pour into your online ministry in order to be intentional. That means lighting is critical in terms of presenting your message to a global audience. Lighting is important. Camera equipment is important. Audio is important. All of those components to produce a successful, engaging program, those things are very important. And so when resources are not available to pour into what is now the common trend where all churches are going because of the pandemic has just kind of thrust us into this new way. And what I'm seeing is a lot of our Adventist churches are not investing in the vehicle that will drive that online community, that will drive more viewers, will help build and establish relationships. I'll give an example. At Berean for the last 3 weeks, we've been doing a replay of our prayer meeting. Prior to the pandemic, of course, people attended in person prayer meeting. And so they would pay the musician, and they would pay the band, and they would pay if they had brought in a soloist, they would pay those individuals, and they would also pay the audio tech. And just for one given Wednesday, that budget could, that might be like $1,000. And for 4 weeks, that's about $4,000, roughly. So because of the pandemic and some renovations that we've been doing at the church, we haven't been doing a live virtual prayer meeting. What we've been doing is the Sabbath service. We've been replaying the Sabbath service. And within those 3 weeks, what I've noticed is we get more engagement in terms of online interactions than when we were doing a live prayer meeting, recording from the church. Elders would come in and they would bring a soloist and so on and so forth. But what we've been doing for the last 3 weeks, the sermon from the pastor, we've been replaying it. And again, the engagement has increased. Now, what has that done? For those 3 weeks, like I said, roughly it's $1,000. Now, again, that don't hold me to that 1,000, because I'm not part of the treasury of the church, but I'm just using that. So roughly $1,000, okay? But so that's 3 weeks, that's $3,000 that we've saved as a church, not having to pay the band to come in, not having to pay the audio tech to come in, the media person. So that $1,000 or $3,000 that we've saved by simply replaying, and we know that the audience watching, they are engaging with this new concept of, I didn't get a chance to see the service on Sabbath. I'm watching it on Wednesday, even though it's pre-recorded, but yet at the same time, I know other people are watching, and there's also engagement because we also have we have moderators in our chat room, and so they are engaging with the folks watching online. Are you saying, Korean? I'm sorry. Okay, I was reading a message. So for me, that is something that's working. In being a communication director, you've got to try new things, and don't stick to the Adventist mold and this is the way it is and this is the way it's always going to be. If you follow that mold, you will find yourself um, you know being in the back of the line pretty much. And so again, you've got to try new things. So that worked. So those resources that were saved just from those 3 weeks alone, those resources can be used to invest in your online, building your online community, whether it's perhaps bringing in a professional to come in, a consultant to come in and help you with your lighting situation, or bringing in a professional to help you with staging or what, just a number of things that you can improve. Because what churches, I believe churches at this point, being on social media, being online, you are a content creator. You're creating content weekly. And YouTube and Facebook, they were designed for content creators. They were designed for social interaction. So if you're on those platforms, you've got to present your message in such a way that it's engaging. And that's why I'm saying with the funds that are being saved from, whether it's replaying your sermons or what have you, those funds can be invested in building your brand, building your online platform. Lighting is critical. You'll find that when a YouTuber, in order to have a popular channel, you've got to invest. You've got to invest in equipment. You've got to invest in lighting. You've got to invest in such a way that it's appealing and attractive to your online community. Again, that's just one way to do it. But your programming is critical, again, because you are online content creator. Next thing about the online community, again, is about building relationships. Now, how do you build relationships? There are a number of ways to build relationships. Through your having greeters online is a good way. Having a two-way conversation with your viewers as they're engaging your programs. Having different forms where users can fill out forms, whether it's through a prayer request or if they want to share their testimony. There are a number of ways to make sure that you are building relationships with your viewers. Another way to do that as well is by having content that's relevant, having content where they're watching it in a group setting. And it doesn't have to be a live content. It could be a replay of something, but you announce it ahead of time so people can watch all at the same time. And that's what people want. People want to feel, I'm not watching this program alone. I am watching it with other people. And so that's very important in terms of building your online community. Just to recap, in order to build your online community, you've got to be intentional. You've got to be relevant. You've got to be, your programming must be transformational. Those are very important in order to, and engagement is really the key. People want to feel, again, they want to feel a part of something. They want to feel connected to your church, not just, just being a passive viewer. They want to be engaged, and you've got to find ways to make sure you you're not just putting out programs out there and hoping that, folks are being blessed by it. Another key is to be impactful and to also be relevant. You have to look at your data. YouTube has where you can go and look at your analytics. You can go on Facebook and look at your analytics. So when you put programs out there, your Sabbath service, look at it, go back and look at your analytics. How many people watch, where they watch from, what device they watch from, what country or the demographics, their age, male, female, all of that information is there. And it tells you a lot about your programming. Are they coming for the music? Are they staying for the sermon? Are they dropping off? At what point in your service are they dropping off? All of that information is available to you, and it will help you in your decision-making as a communication director. Information that you can present to the board, you can present to the pastor. Because again, with all of your analytics, you can see when people log on, how long they stay on. There's a church that I'm working with, their average watch, they have a 3-hour church program. This is online. They're online for 3 hours. But when I looked at their analytics, the average total watch time was 32 minutes. And that's weekly. It's just 32 minutes. And you can see where folks are dropping off. Now, what does that say? That tells me we've got to make some changes in that whole, because they're thinking, hey, we're doing great, and it's a great church, and they're doing excellent. They have a nice praise team. I mean, music is good, the word is good, but nobody's spending that much time watching. So are you being impactful when you're doing all of this nice programming and you're doing all this and no one's watching? So it's very important to look and track your information. It's very important. Spend some time as a communication director. Whatever you do in terms of building this online community, make sure you put in ways to track and measure success. You've got to measure success in order to make sound decisions and to make recommendations and to make changes. Look at other churches as well. See what they're doing. There are a number of churches, non-Adventist churches, that I look at, as well as Adventist churches. And I look to see how they present their message. I go on their website. Are they really engaging the community? Do they promote their events? Do people know what's going on at a church? Does it feel like a community church? If I'm not a member of that church, do I feel, do I get that warm and fuzzy feeling when I go to their website? Does it seem like they engaged in the community? Do they have programs for young people? Do they have programs during the week? Typically in our churches, Adventist churches, it's the Sabbath service and prayer meeting, and that's it. Now, the online community is a different environment. You've got to be intentional. We could have cooking programs, or you could have workout programs where individuals feel a part of it. They feel connected to your program. So it's very important to think outside the box, and also to measure success and define what does it mean? What does success mean to your church, and how do you define? And if something is not working, are you willing to present it and say, Pastor, I recommend that we make a change based on this. The same church that I'm working with, and it's not the Atlanta Berean Church. Let me put that out there. Their demographics, what it says, they're not reaching young people at all. There's no impact. When I look at their analytics, the group that they're reaching is 65 and above. When it comes to 18 to 21-year-olds, they're registering like 0.001%. And that's not good. And here's the reason why it's not good. In order to sustain an online community, or for a church for that matter, you've got to have folks who, you need new givers. You need people giving. because those who are 65 and above, they're not going to live forever. So you have to replenish. And if you're not reaching a certain age group with your message, then you're not replenishing, because eventually those at the top are going to fall off, and then you won't bring in new people. So you have to reinvent yourselves. It's very important to do that. I see a hand, so let me quickly take that hand. Okay, let's see here. Let's see who's.
Good morning,
Go
brother.
ahead. I think that was Joyce, and we
This
have
is-
Joyce and also Toyin. Yes,
It's Joyce and Karen.
Karen. Good
we're
morning,
together.
Joyce and Karen.
Good morning. So my question is, listening to you, what tools do you actually have to recommend for communications directors as we map out the quote unquote success or the progression of our departments for our churches? I've listened to what you said, but do you have screenshots of what the analytics section looks like? How do we go about defining our actual demographic for our churches? If there's anybody on this line that is just starting out, what are the resource tools that are available to us for understanding the characteristics of our church as a whole? Because if we're looking to keep people engaged, we have to understand our own messaging. So what tools are there? Sample surveys that you have to offer that we can use to survey our existing congregation on what their needs are, what they want to see? Are there any type of screenshots so that we can understand our analytics in Facebook, on YouTube, any other things that you can tangibly give us to lead us in the right direction?
Absolutely. And in the second segment, I will do that. This segment is pretty much informational. In the second segment, I will share resources, I will share tools, I will have screenshots to help and guide new communication directors in this new venture. But yes, we will certainly have more resources that I can point you to, because there are a number of them. There are studies out there that shows you, there's a resource out there that shows you where you can map your entire neighborhood and get all the demographic, the information, the sensors. There are different websites you can go to. There are different, like you said, tools that can be used. And I will share those in the next session. This one was just pretty much, just giving an outline, an overview. And even after the second session, there's so much information out there. 2 hours, 3 hours is just not enough to share that, because after my session, Mr. Paul McNeil, he will be coming on, and he has some information to share as well. And his is dealing with marketing and target marketing and and how to reach audience through advertisements and so on and so forth. So he'll have more information on that. Because again, my segment is it's really 45 minutes, and Paul McNeil has the rest. But in the second program, we're going to flush out some more information and just go in deeper. And I'll try to get as much as I can in that next segment. But I just wanted to lay the foundation, what I've seen, what's working, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so there'll be an opportunity for us to learn how to create a profile,
Yes.
profile for our church, so that we know
Yes.
who we're serving, mission, vision, values driven, all of those
Absolutely.
things.
Absolutely. Okay. And I've got about 3 minutes, and I just want to say, and I know there was another hand. Well, go ahead and I believe that was Toyin.
Yes, when you're explaining now that you're going to go into a second session that will be different from this one, it's like my heart sank because we got 4 different meetings that we're trying to go to as well.
But it will be recorded, so you can always come back and look at it.
True, but I mean the thing is, I think the biggest thing that I face right now is making the connection as to who's my go-to. So if I'm running into issues at my church, you're mentioning, hey, you need to reach people who will deal with lighting and all these different avenues and how we can increase our online presence. Me hearing you say it, I would, my question is like, you're right there in front of me. Like, how can I talk to you so that you can probably lead me in the right direction?
Well,
When I'm watching a video, it's like I only have the video now. Like I've now missed that opportunity to talk one-on-one with you,
right, I
in a
understand.
sense.
And this won't be the last session. Again, 90 minutes or 45 minutes is not enough time. It's really is a one-on-one type situation because all churches are not the same. So we'll have to look into more one-on-one sessions to
Can you can you
really
share
go.
your contact information? And that way, is that something that you'll be able to do on recording, or is that something you'll probably not be able to do?
I
So that
will.
way I can reach out to you later.
Yes, I will. I will definitely do that. I will share my contact information, and then you guys can always reach out to me for more information. Because again, this is not enough time to cover everything, and especially in the second segment where you'll see more information, and there will be more questions. But again, I wanted to lay out the groundwork. That second session is from 12 up 12 to 12:45, I believe. So again, I'll share my information. Let me do that right now. And let's see here. Let's do that. Any other questions before Paul jumps in?
Yes, I have a question. This is Cheryl Cousins. Is there any support for small congregations? I I know Berean is quite large compared to a company. So, and our needs are definitely different from a lot of other people's. Is there any particular support? I am having issues knowing what equipment to buy. At first, I was just the assistant communication manager, uh, secretary. Then the leader quit. So now I have to fully take on. I was just doing social media kind of stuff. And now the person has quit. So now I'm responsible for all of this. And I'm trying to uh, just have some ideas. I don't even know what kind of equipment, what kind of lighting, all of those kinds of things. Is there any support for small congregations that need this kind of information?
Absolutely. There are resources online, not so much here at the conference, but there's some resources I'll be able to guide you, to point out to you that's available online. And
Okay.
hopefully down the road, the conference will invest into putting some packages together, that will help small churches, help them navigate this whole new environment that we're in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Paul, I know I'm kind of spilling over into your time, but if it's okay, if I can take 5 minutes from you to just answer some questions, and then I'll give those 5 minutes on the other side, if that's okay.
That's
Okay.
perfectly fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. So I'll take a few questions, and then Paul's going to jump right in. Okay, apparently we don't have any questions. Okay.
Satiko,
I do have a quick question. So regarding the analytics, are you going to provide a little bit more information regarding just the details? Because you did mention just the different time frames that people visit, drop off, etc. So once that information is collected and it's shared with the church, so then what then should the church maybe suggest have a meeting with members just to discuss? Because some of it may be hard to interpret. You may have some people that are surfers, some, because some people may join for the announcements, et cetera. But what then regarding that information? How can you continue to interpret it so that the church is meeting the needs of the congregation?
Yes, and again, in the second segment, I will dive in deeper with explaining and showing the analytics and how to read the analytics. And there, as far as the analytics, to me, what's important, the age, the time people log on, when they drop off, how long they watch, all of that plays a critical role in the decision making. And yeah, so we will definitely go into that. And just lastly, before Paul comes on, I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for over 25 years. And, when I first started as a vegetarian, what was available to me was just Loma Linda products. You'd go to the Book and Bible House or the ABC, and you would go in there and you get your veggie loaf or your dinner roast or what have you, from Loma Linda or Worthington. And now this environment that we're currently in, pretty soon, Worthington and Loma Linda, they will, if they're not looking at their analytics right now and seeing, folks, Adventists aren't really buying like they used to, because now you have Impossible and you have Beyond and you have all these other products that are available to folks who are vegetarian, and the products are way better. It's the same with the church. I know this is the way we've done it from, since Michael Miller, William Miller. I mean, this is the way we've done it. And if we latch on to that whole mindset that this is the way and the only way, we will find ourselves not being relevant online, because we are in a fast moving, now they're talking about the metaverse and being engaged in this virtual world. And there's a church right now that's been doing this metaverse where people come into a virtual world and they worship and they baptize people and the whole nine. But our Adventist churches are oblivious to what's happening, and there's this knack for not wanting to adjust to what's happening. And what I'm saying today is, as a communication director, don't be afraid to take chances, just not take it, but just try something new. Try it. Look at your data. If it works, go with it. If it doesn't, change it. If just removing some chairs off the rostrum or changing your set or making some tweaks, removing some of those plants that are, the Adventist churches just love to have plants all across if those changes make a difference in terms of getting more engagement, try it and see if it works. If it doesn't, that's fine. Then go back. But as new directors coming on, try different things. Look at other churches. Look at your data. And once we talk about how to do that, but look at it and inform your church, inform the pastor. Pastor, look, this is not working. People are not watching you. People are not watching the praise team. They're not watching prayer meeting. And so in the next segment, I will equip and provide information on how to make sound decisions in terms of having your data, and so on and so forth. Paul, thank you for allowing me to spill into your time. Paul, take it away.
All right, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. If you give me 1 second, I'm about to share my screen. and we'll try to get going. I want to be respectful of your time. Okay. Let's see if this works. Can you all see it?
Do I need to make you host? Let me
No,
see.
not yet.
Okay, 1 second. Let me try one other thing here. Share. I don't see. Oh, share screen options. No, that's not for me. Oh, okay, here it is. Sorry. I had it, I kind of had it scrunched up there. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. So today I named it, I don't know who remembers the Looney Tunes, the That's All folks. And so the idea that I want to kind of piggyback on what Europe was talking about and saying, showing that your church isn't all sermons. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. My name's Dr. Paul McNeil. I believe that successful church growth post-lockdown is going to definitely depend on finding those practical digital parallels to traditional evangelism. And so I know that many of you are new communication directors or tech directors. And so I'm going to share a little bit about myself just so that you understand my background, where I'm coming from. And then we're going to get into one kind of the ideology that I have, like a little bit of that, more of that background. And then we're going to get into a couple of the practical things. I know someone had a question around kind of setting things up. So I'm going to try to get through as much as possible. I'll do this again at the next session, but just to give you kind of a framework, we're going to talk about some practical ideas. We're also going to talk a little bit about some frameworks, and then we'll also talk about kind of give you a little bit of army power for when you go back to your churches. And we'll do it in the reverse order. I just said it backwards, but forgive me. Let's go ahead. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Southwest Region Conference. And while I was there, I have, we did a lot of traditional ministry, okay? So I'm very familiar, and I grew up in a lot of smaller churches in Southwest Region. So I didn't grow up at a Berean, okay? I grew up in small town Texas, rural Louisiana, at these churches. And so I've done everything from passing out those amazing fax cards, door to door, Real Truth Bible studies, open air tent meetings. We did a meeting where we put a white sheet on the side of a building, just had a big amplifier, had people come out. We've done stuff inside of other church, library conference rooms. So a lot of traditional experience, a lot of understanding of like, hey, I'm the tech person and nobody else at my church is really going to rock with what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how great some of the stuff is. You have to think about like, how are we going to be able to take back and convince everyone else? Or how are we going to be able to do things with a limited budget, right? So that's kind of the background that I came from. So in my professional life, I then went to school and grad school, and I did a lot with software engineering, a lot with data science, marketing analytics, and optimization. And so during some of my early successes transitioning from just pure data science to marketing, I was able to kind of realize that a lot of marketing was just quote unquote, it was just evangelism, but instead of promoting Jesus, we were promoting some kind of a product. And so I was able to kind of incorporate some of the things that I did in my grassroots campaigns in evangelism and marketing, and had a lot of really big wins. And so that kind of started to make me think, can I take some of the things from the marketing space and from that online trying to sell a product space and utilize it in evangelism? I think I heard somebody say that they are from Charleston, and my family comes from there. I'm one of the Charleston McNeils. And so I have a large family, very engaged in evangelism and in ministry. And so I started having these conversations. And really, it wasn't until COVID hit that kind of the ground was loosened up to even start making these moves into the technology space. And so everyone would kind of, well, we want to continue with our normal church. But as we've all seen over the last 18 to 24 months, normal church has changed a lot. We discussed that a little bit ago. And I think we're all just living in the world, right? Churches are more open to investing in Zoom, right? Churches are more open in valuing the opinion of tech leadership and communications leadership. And so this is the right time for us to start reaching our global and really engaging in the Great Commission. So I'm going to mention 2 quick facts as well as the Great Commission. We all know about going, therefore, making disciples of all nations. And so we are looking at the average person spends about 3 times as much online, okay, as they in social media socializing, as opposed to socializing in person. 3 times as much, okay? 51% of the world is on some kind of social media, all right? As well as only about 20% of Americans regularly attend church. And I think 2 out of every 10 or 20% of millennials even think it's important to go to a physical church, okay? So when we start thinking about these very real facts that outside sources have done these studies, we realize that there's a very real digital nation that's spanning these physical geographies, right? But as Yurik said, we have to be intentional about how we reach them. So the truth is that every church now has a global reach. Every church, no matter how big or how small, has the ability to be Breath of Life, to be Amazing Facts, to be 3ABN, all right? But just like with Breath of Life, many people will never actually get the opportunity to be at a live Breath of Life recording or go to 3ABN camp meeting, right? Many of our digital evangelism efforts are not necessarily going to result in people coming in physically into our buildings. And so if we can accept that, then the church has a really great opportunity to be even more effective than the Breath of Life, because we can engage in true friendship and true discipleship. Many of us, I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the term friendship evangelism. But friendship evangelism is the concept of making friends for Jesus. And it's a very powerful tool in evangelism and in ministry, where we talk about befriending people to show them Christ and then lead them to him through our live life and through caring. One of the biggest issues with friendship evangelism as we actually do it or execute it is that we forget to create genuine friendships. And so we're only meeting people in lieu of, or in service of getting them to show up, right? And so genuine friendships are truly needed today, because in North America, they did a study and it says that at any given time, 25% of the North American population is in some mode of crisis. And so we have this hope, we have this encouragement, we have this message and this comforter that we can introduce people to, right? But we have to make sure that we're doing it in a very genuine way. All right, so I'm going to do a couple quick definitions. We talk about a friend. A friend is someone who you like and enjoy being with. All right, these are dictionary definitions. And we have friendship, which is the state of being friends. So the state of being with people that you genuinely like and that you enjoy being around. All right, and we have disciple. A disciple is someone who assists and who accepts and assists in spreading the doctrines of another. As well. And then the discipleship is just being in that mode of being a disciple. Okay. And so the current online environment is full of fake friendships, right? So if we think of the internet as its own nation in which we need to go in as missionaries to do discipleship, its citizens are already suspicious. How many of us have people that we might have met online in online groups or that we engage with online, but we would never let them come to our house, right? We would never give them our address, still friendly, and there's always this suspicion of danger, even if you are saying some things that through a veil of anonymity, I can't speak right now, but you all know what I'm saying, under the veil of keeping yourself hidden, that we'll share and be a lot more open with those people, how maybe even more than if we were face to face. But there's still that suspicion, and there's still certain things about getting into your physical presence that you're going to keep very guarded. And so, in order for the church to really make this online effect, it's going to take time, it's going to take authenticity, and it's going to take transparency to develop that online reputation. What a lot of people, and if you're in marketing, they would say branding or developing a brand. There's really just your reputation, and in order for us to develop that, as the lighthouse in the storm of life. A question that I like to ask is, what if your church was known as a safe place for anyone to land? And this is a quote that I read in the book. And they said, what if your church was a safe place for anyone to land, regardless of their affiliation or their interest in your faith? What if in the communities, our churches weren't known as that building over there, but it was known as a place where people could come for help, whether or not they were trying to engage and become a member of the church, all right? And so this brings us to two sets of questions that we need to honestly answer, right? Are we really trying to reach all nations, or are we just trying to reach other Adventists? Are we trying to bring people to Jesus, or just get butts in seats? And prayerfully, we are genuinely trying to reach all nations as we bring people to Christ. Okay, so we have a lot of options now, right? And we're seeing that there are a lot of options. People can log into Berean because they like song service, but then log into Shiloh because they really wanted to hear someone speak. And so we have a lot of this going back and forth, and we have to make sure that we have that we are not only communicating, but we are also engaging and developing these real friendships, and that we are able to understand the audience that we are targeting. Now, targeting for a specific audience does not mean that we are excluding other people. We're just focusing our efforts. It's always okay for us to go back and to change the type of audience we are targeting. It's always okay to expand as our resources expand. And if as we are aiming for a specific kind of audience, other people come, we want everyone, and so we are accepting. But many people are intersectional. Gone are the days where you can just say, well, this person happens to be, male and 25 and so forth, and so they are probably feeling this kind of way about things. And it's very important for us to take that time out to understand, one, because many times we don't have huge budgets. So we have to be focused on what we want to do, right? And then the second part is we need to make sure that we understand our immediate community around the church. Many of us are coming, and many Adventists are commuters. And so they're traveling half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour to go to their church service. So they're not, many times our members are not in the communities that we're looking to serve that are directly geographically around the church. And so we have to take the time out to truly understand. So I know that someone asked about kind of a framework for understanding understanding their audience and kind of setting things up. So we're going to talk a little bit at a high level about two things here. We're going to talk about kind of this, what they call the seeker's journey, and then kind of how we can go around getting ready to do that. Now, I have several references and resources. I will give you my email address at the end, and I believe that there's someone that we can communicate with to kind of pass those handouts. And so we're just going to kind of go through things at a high level, and I'll try to make sure that we can disseminate that information. But there are wonderful resources. There is the North American Division back in 2016 established a social media plus big data department. I believe it's like sdabigdata.org, but I can send out the actual thing. And one of their digital strategists actually put a book out. It's a little bit of a dense read, but that's kind of where a lot of this is going to be coming from today. And I will share that book with you all. at a later time. And feel free to type any questions that you have in the chat as we're going. And then if I can, as I'm talking, address it, I will. And if not, we will answer it at the end, trying to keep my eye on the clock. It's 11:07 and we have till 11:30, right? Am I correct, Yurik, on time?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So understanding our audience. So we want to understand our seeker's journey. All right, so this is a graph. I love this graph because it does a couple of things, and we're going to talk about the seeker's journey. Can you see hopefully you can see my mouse on the screen here. And so we have the awareness. This is kind of how the things start. And the first thing you'll see is that there are a lot of loops here, because people are no longer just seeing one thing, showing up to church, showing up, going to the Bible study, becoming a member. There's actually all of these different loops and curves. And so we need to understand kind of that one, it's a much more dynamic process that people are going through. And two, we need to make sure that our church is being consistent at each one of these touch points, right? Because we may start online, but online should be an extension of what's going to actually happen when they come in person. Because you can have the best advertisement, right? Like if you're starving and you see a Chick-fil-A at the next exit sign, but then you get there and that Chick-fil-A has just disgusting food, are you going to return? Right? You're not. And so we have to make sure that throughout the entire process, we have that consistent experience for our seekers. So let's talk about it really quickly, and we'll keep going. So this is awareness, seeing. This is when they first discover the content that we're putting online. All right. And then they might want to dig around, and they may go through various resources that we are providing them. And we're going to talk about that content. Then they may actually come and engage either in person or online. And then there's actually trying to develop those relationships within our church. And then there's becoming a member. And then from there, actually participating in the ministry. And if you notice inside here, there are these three smaller loops that at each point, somebody who is seeking may stay inside of these loops. They may stay in research and discovery for a while. They may stay inside of developing relationships before they truly decide to become a member and join in ministry. And we need to be consistent over time and be patient as that happens. And so that can mean continuing to put up those various pieces of content on our social media or on our website, even if it doesn't seem like there is a lot of traction initially, or maybe sometimes there's a lot, sometimes we just have to stay, we cannot get weary in our well-doing. All right, let's go to the next. All right, so we're talking about understanding. The other thing I wanted to mention before I jumped directly into internal work. Oh no, we'll go ahead into the internal work. So we have to get ready to be able to go out. And so I know that, like we said, we're talking about some of the actual tools that we can get into. I don't have a lot of screenshots. Maybe in this next session, if we have some time, I can show. But here's a list of different things that we can do in order to just understand what's going on. So when we're talking about internal work, we want to look at, one, leadership needs to identify what those core values and needs and experiences are that your church is trying to create some very deep connections around. So as a department leader, you need to understand what your church's mission is, and then you need to have your department's mission and understand how that relates, right? So if maybe you are technology or communications, what does that mean as far as you supporting various other departments in getting the word out to the community and to other members, and just kind of working with your leadership to understand what that is and coming up with very realistic assessments of what your church and department can actually offer the community. A lot of times we get very, very excited or intimidated at just doing everything that we're hearing. We see other churches doing this. We want to do some other things, but it's very important that we under promise and over deliver, especially when dealing with those who are not of the Adventist faith. We want to make sure that what we say we can do, we can do. And so that might mean we need to scale down our efforts as far as focusing maybe on just 1 or 2 channels online, right? Focusing maybe on 1 or 2 types of content that we're creating, because that's what we can do right now. And as we can do better, we do better. And so there's a mix of digital and traditional solutions for kind of getting our teams together and understanding the church around us. So we have conversations and surveys are always very effective in understanding what is going on with the community. Going out and having a conversation, conducting surveys. That's one. Those are 2 very powerful traditional methods. Digitally, there are free tools like Google Trends and Answer Socrates. Google Trends will let you know exactly what people online on a global scale are searching, but it has a feature where you can kind of hone down a little bit more to like your state, and I believe even sometimes your region, so you can see exactly how many people are searching for certain kinds of questions or topics. And so if you feel like your church is equipped to answer a specific kind of need, or you all have a lot of people that are able to help with things, maybe domestic violence or something is something that is huge in your area, and you have people that are equipped to do that, you could use Google Trends to kind of hone in on, are people really looking for things around domestic violence help in my community? You could kind of drill down in Google Trends. Answer Socrates is great for putting topics in, and it will show you some of the questions that people are searching. So you might put a topic in that says domestic violence, and Answer Socrates will kind of show you some of the top questions that include domestic violence that are actually being answered. And this can help you in thinking about how to shape your content and how to title that content so that it's showing up when people put in searches. There's another tool called Ubersuggest. I love Ubersuggest. It's a paid tool. It's not very expensive, but it's a tool that allows you to look at not only the amount or a volume of searches that are going on with various keywords, but you can also see other websites and other that are blogging about it, and see what kind of information they're blogging about, see what kind of titles that they're using, and kind of get a bigger picture about things that you can emulate. When it comes to developing and putting content together, it's very helpful to just go and see what other people are doing, as Yurik said, and try to see what it is that you can do. And so I like Ubersuggest because in addition to sharing those search volumes, it will also show you some of the top rated sites and some of the top rated blog posts and things like that. So you can go in there, you can see what they're talking about. You can see if maybe there are things you think that they've missed, maybe things that you might be able to paraphrase and always giving credit, but you can package differently specifically for it to reach your community. All right. Another thing we can do is develop personas. Okay, so this is a quick example of what a persona is. It's a fancy way of just saying a digital fictional character. So as you are working internally to figure out your audience and your messaging, what you want to do is you want to create an imaginary friend. Okay, an imaginary potential member, and you want to actually sit down and outline everything as though it's one person, and this person should be representative of your core target audience. So here, this is someone who's, this was for a UX servicing and stuff like that, but there's the bio, there's age, if they're married, what they prefer as far as where they're spending their time, what are their core motivations, what are their frustrations, what are those crises that they may be dealing with. We want to create that, and doing that as a team, definitely at the church level, but again, within your own department is a very helpful exercise to get everyone on board so that everyone is thinking like the person they are trying to help the most. We don't want to be the equivalent of a missionary who goes to a foreign land, jumps off the plane, yells at people in English and gets back on the plane and comes home, having not made any connections, but thinks that we've done a ton of work. And that's what a lot of us have been, our churches have been doing. We just kind of use the internet for broadcasting only. That's important. It does find people, but we want to make sure that we are creating experiences that are actually helpful. That's the developing true friendship, truly engaging with our community. The NAD has come up with a basic structure for digital ministries. Again, I said I'll share that resource, and I got this from that website. I believe, like I said, it's sdabigdata.org. Like I said, you can contact me at the end or after this for information about the book, as well as the website. The website has a lot of great blogs that cover similar content to the book. And so they've kind of grouped 3 particular types of people and activities when it comes to this online. And some people can fit in one, some people fit in more than one group. And so, you know, there needs to be a real push at each church and each department to dedicate time and money to train and empower your members across generations. This is not just a young person thing. This is not just a, you know, older person thing. Everyone needs to be working together to teach and learn and grow and use their skills, gifts, interests, and desires to engage in this online evangelism. So these 3 things, the content creators, these are creative types. They're your bubbly people. They're always ready to share a story. We want them to take that energy and put it into creating real content, packaging helpful messaging, not just necessarily sermons. It can be that it might be a teenager or a young person that is always having conversations. Maybe they go and they're like the man on the street and talking to people in the community in a safe way, of course, and engaging, sharing content about what's going on in your Pathfinders groups or in your various ministries, just making sure that helping to create the information or the content that shows and demonstrates online why it's such a great to join your church community, why it's such a great idea to join your church community. You then have engagers. Your engagers are going to be people who, you need people who are very friendly and have empathy to take this role. And this is something that needs to happen both in church and online. So this can be people who are extremely friendly, having a dedicated team that looks in and at the response and the comments that are coming in on your various content so they can reply in a timely manner. People that their mission is to go out from your department and engage with people, purposefully just reaching them, looking, checking your social media or checking your member social media for those who have maybe put out tweets or put out some kind of status that might be a call for help. They're the ones that will, you know, maybe send that thoughtful prayer message to someone. And so that's in or digitally and then in person. We want to make sure we have that. We'll get into that a little bit later. Then we have our distributors. And these are the people that will help you to spread your content. Okay, we all know that sometimes you can post things and it doesn't show up in the algorithm. Your distributors can reshare those posts for you. They can be a dedicated pod of people that are going to share those posts, click and engage so that you're able to get the most bandwidth on the content that you are sharing. So in addition to looking at, you know, who do we have that fits these various categories, we also want to remember when Moses was at the bush and the Lord said, what is in your hand? What things are in your hand? When you're starting to make this, you're new, assess what you have at your church already. Many of us have at least a tablet, a phone, and laptops. And so we can start making decent quality content, even if it's not a full production. And that will allow us to have that authenticity, to have that relatability. If you look at a lot of the TikToks, right, that we're watching or that our kids are watching, we look at a lot of YouTube, so many people are doing so many things with just their iPhone. So looking at what you already have, try to develop a plan for those things. and then add on, okay, it would be nice to add these things on. Now let's look at what we have for our budget, but see what you can do with what you already have. All right, and so trying to speed along here, I want to make sure we get to the practical stuff. So if there are any questions, like I said, I'll try to get to it. I'm going to try to wrap this up, but please, contact me at the end. So external work, we want to make sure that we're very practical about things, and we are assessing what our current reputation or social branding is. All right, so it starts with the website. Every church needs to kind of assess what their website looks like. Is there old content on there? Do we have old events and things that are irrelevant? We want to make sure that we have that. We want to make sure that we have the most time-sensitive things that they're current, because when you have outdated information, someone who's just looking at a site then starts to question the validity of everything else that's on your website. Something else we look at, I know many of you are communications, but if you're not the communications team, maybe taking ownership, having each department take ownership of generating the content and keeping an eye on, or helping you keep an eye on their particular department's page, right? If you are new and this is a lot going on, you're going to need help. And so you're going to want to enlist the leadership of each of the various departments to kind of help you out. You don't want to be the only person who is taking ownership of everything, or the only team. If you're at a smaller church, sometimes you're the only person. So you want to try to get a couple of people to help you out there. The other key fact, or another thing, is many church members don't actually use our websites, right? Not regularly anyway. So going through our websites and auditing it so that it makes sense for a visitor. So sharing things that someone who is completely new to your church would know, what to expect, facts and questions when you on your first visit, or plan a first visit and have something where maybe they can submit a form and you can know that they are coming. Things like that, making it just very friendly for someone who's not necessarily a member. And so then we have creating that content. I don't know how to remove these lines on the screen. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Oop. I don't know what's going on. Why it's okay. But when we talk about social media and paid ads, we've all talked about like creating regular content that fits your church's various social needs, but thinking beyond just sermons and beyond just the music, but thinking about, creating practical things like how to fix a car. So one of the reference points is there's a YouTube page called Dad, How Can I? And or I think it's How Do I? And this gentleman, the last year, has gone from having a page that he just started to almost 3 million subscribers, just because he gives advice that he wishes that a dad would have given him when he was growing up. Okay, practical things, how to fix a car. So think about active listening, noticing cries for help, and reaching out to people saying, hey, would you mind if I inbox you a prayer or something like that? And you can just send an audio prayer that's very personalized. Maybe you have a very engaged young group of people who engage in drama, putting skits and different plays online. You could just record them, don't necessarily have to have an audience and be live, and we can do things like that. When we talk about paid ads, you don't have to have a lot of money to be effective, particularly if you're trying to focus on a small geographic region. You can do things at a decent budget, but social media is a business. And so a lot of times these social media companies will cap your organic reach from just you sharing. Only like 10% of your followers will see things. So sometimes it's good to boost those posts so that they can reach a wider amount of people. And then again, digital engaging, developing real friendships. We've got virtual events. And so that's things like just maybe having music playing sessions, live streams, having live practical lessons, hosting virtual coding camps. I've worked with a church this past summer, and after their vacation Bible school, I actually ran a virtual coding camp, and it allowed them to kind of, okay, I see Joyce's has a question. Go ahead, Joyce. Hello?
Oh, that's okay. I'll wait until you finish.
Okay. As well as maybe tutoring sessions. Maybe there are a lot of kids that need help in your community. You find out academics is an issue. Having some kind of an after-school program, live stream prayer lines is another one. Let's see if I have anything. I think there's one other slide here. In person, you want to make sure that in-person experience is similar to the engagement that they're receiving online. And then as far as new members, having some set rules or guidelines for how we treat new members, how we treat visitors, having a process. There's a rule in restaurants knows that it takes 4 times for someone to visit for them to really love coming to your establishment as a restaurant. And so similarly, we want to make those first couple of times very special and realistic, but very special and intentional about how people encounter us those first couple of times, because that's going to shape whether or not they want to really become a part of our community. So here's my information. I'll take any questions now. I don't know if the chat, if I can see that chat right now, but any questions that you all have. We're already losing our young adults and jobs. Yes, we definitely are, Leslie. So that's before pandemic. Okay. Yep. Hello, are there any questions?
I do have a question regarding the paid ads.
Yes.
So YouTube, I know that again, that's just a way for YouTube and other businesses to make money. However, my concern with that, I know I've had discussions with others regarding that, but my concern is the interruptions. So let's say your prayer is coming up and then all of a sudden an ad interrupts. Is there any way that, I don't think we can control when those ads pop up, or do you have information about, do we have a say regarding what types of ads are added to the to our broadcast?
So that I would have to look at. I know that not everyone is able to monetize, but I think that is based on the person watching, right? So I think I would have to research that a little bit more. When I'm referencing paid ads, I mean the church running ads on YouTube to your community. That was where I was particularly referencing. So you're having an event, or you want to drive traffic to some of the content that you are creating so that more people in your community know about it. I'm talking about using YouTube ads to your advantage so that you show up on someone else's video, maybe videos where they are looking for something, like I mentioned, the domestic violence. Maybe they are YouTubing help around that, or how to help somebody who's in that situation. You might want to have an ad that talks about the work that you're doing or how you're able to help, if that's what your church is able to do, that shows up to them while they're watching that video. As far as it interrupting, I would need to if you reach out to me and send that, I can follow that up. But my understanding is that if the person who is viewing your channel has like a premium YouTube subscription, they don't see any interruptions. I don't know that you can control what YouTube does to your live stream and your content. I know that you can not have your channel monetized, but I don't know that stops it from YouTube from actually showing ads on your content, because I think that's based on their relationship with your viewer.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other?
So I did have a question. So I'm just curious as to, it was mentioned earlier about us streaming on different forums or whatnot. Would you suggest that that one is selected so that we can, be in the business of enhancing and putting in, the necessary monies that may, accumulate with it to make sure that that one particular programming is, I guess, efficient all around as best as it can be, or having multiples.
Could you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
In regards to us streaming in different forms, the YouTube, whether it be Vimeo, whatever form that you stream your services on, would you suggest that one is selected and be able to pour funds and more attention to making that one platform more successful? And, because it may acquire more funds depending on what it is, we want individually for our churches versus having multiple.
Got you. I think that there are tools that will allow you to kind of stream on multiple, but just focus on that one platform. So StreamYard is one that allows you to stream. You can use StreamYard to stream on YouTube, Facebook, and a couple other things at the same time. And then you're only worried about what your video and stuff looks like going into StreamYard. That's one. I know there's another one, I can't think of it, but many people use StreamYard. It's not extremely expensive, and you can connect your various accounts, whether it is Facebook, YouTube, there, and then you just have to worry about really making sure you understand StreamYard. And there's one or two other ones, and I can't remember them at the time, but I know that StreamYard is fairly simple to use, and it allows you to still focus on one thing as you're talking about, but still be able to stream across platforms.
Gotcha. And are you saying StreamYard is in two separate words, stream in like
one word? I just typed it into the chat for you. StreamYard.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep. And sorry for going over, everyone. Wirecast is another one. Sorry for going a little bit over. I hope that it was worth your time, and I appreciate it. I don't know how long we can stay on here. Uric.
Thank you, Paul, for the presentation. There's really not a protocol in terms of time. I don't believe, unless others want to take a break or what have you. But I don't think if we stay over, we will interrupt someone else's meeting. So if there are any additional questions for Paul or myself, even though we're still going to come on at 12, we're open. Consider this some consultation time.
Right. Just for clarity, the second session, is it the same information, different presenters, or it's completely different?
Same presenters. Again, I was just laying the framework, the foundation. I will go more into resources on this presentation. I will share screens. We'll visit different websites. I'll show you some back end information. So it will be a lot more in depth in terms of what will be presented.
And mine will probably be the same thing. I mean, yeah, I think if there is any questions, maybe I can go into a little more back end type of stuff and show a couple of demos, but mine will probably be the same.
Yes. So we'll be spending a lot more time visiting websites and different tools and looking at analytics and how to read the analytics and things of that nature. Yes.
Gotcha.
I have a question for Dr. McNeil.
Yes.
Quick question. What would a budget look like for a small church who is trying to put ads on YouTube? What would be a nice amount? So if I present to the board, hey, I'm looking for this amount as a budget, what would that look like?
So if I'm a smaller church, I would probably I would try to see if I could get a couple hundred, but I would actually try to use Facebook more so than Google. Google's gonna cost more. YouTube ads can cost a bit more to be truly effective and to kind of get the numbers and reach if you're not doing anything other than just awareness and just putting stuff out there. So I might, if I was putting something together, I might do something with Facebook, because you can get very, very, they'll use like their AI to kind of help you adjust some of your ads and automatically and keep improving. Whereas with YouTube and Google, you'll have to put more effort in, and it may take a little more time for you to figure out like how to really grab your audience. And so Facebook ads often do very well with smaller budgets. I see a hand.
Yes. So I'm probably, my question is kind of goes into the gentleman's as well, but I guess I'm probably the only one on the line that's not directly affiliated with the communications department. I'm actually the minister of music at my church, but I also serve on the committee currently to, like LaDonna said earlier, to make the services more attractive. And that's in person and online. So I guess with me trying to wrap my head around the technology of it and just like the, you know, the overall success that we're trying to all accomplish within our church, whether big or small. I guess my thought process is because LaDonna's mentioned earlier about, you know, not being able to save those extra expenditures that we're used to using when we're trying to present something in person, because right now none of us really have the numbers that we used to have. And so us being able to more pour out into the online stream, because that's where the bulk of our audience is. And even with this particular segment that you guys are providing, even trying to make sure that those numbers are consistent as well. So I guess my thought process is what way, because I heard everything that we can make, because I think a lot of our churches now are kind of doing both. We're streaming online and we're showing service with people that are showing up in person. So with that two-part question, what does a budget look like even for a big church that is basically kind of get back on track after the pandemic, within the pandemic, in regards to pouring out to make sure services are seemingly back to where they used to be as far as attractiveness, not so much as the old school, because I agree with LaDonna's whole holiday that we all need to be in the business of change because we're adapting to our new reality. But also making sure that the people online are feeling the level of engagement as well as the people that are sitting right in front of us. I know that it was a lot.
Well, as far as a budget, I might let LaDonna speak towards the budget of a larger church. I've always been in smaller churches, and so there's like almost always no budget. But I will say that as far as having things that are engaging online, I think, and I'll use the music department as an example, it can be as simple as not relying 100% on your live service, in-person service, as the only thing that you're doing online as a department. So there are so many, like, I mean, you can go on TikTok, you can go on Instagram, you see so many musicians and singers who will do very cool duets, things of that nature from their phones. And so it might be interesting to create something on that platform that's recorded and upload that to your YouTube, to your Facebook, just songs, like we were thinking about this, not just showing what's happening in your rehearsals, but maybe having a couple of songs that the praise team does to warm up or whatever, and recording that in a way that you can share it where the sound is decent, and it's done with cell phones, or it's done using, mics at home, things of that nature. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to be creative in terms of engaging online. It's not always going to be exactly during the church hours, if that makes sense. And I see another hand.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that was going to be my next thing, because I guess I'm the type of member that I'm a little bit in between. So if I'm in person, I don't want you showing me a whole lot of online stuff. So you kind of
Right.
answered it right at the end. And if I'm online, then I want to feel like I'm a part, you know? So it's kind of like a catch-22. Like, what do you do now that we have in person? Because you're right, we had more creative juices when we were just strictly online, because we could do those pre-recorded things and add these extra things in, you know, to make up for the time, because we're not in person and doing all of the welcoming and hugging and all the things that we would have been doing if we were in person. So to filling in that gap of time. So yeah, so I guess, yeah, that with the pre-recorded and just being able to kind of show the things, but just on a different schedule and not actual doing divine hour. Okay.
Yeah, it can be that. And the other thing too is just have shorter services also, right? So even though you're back in person, the live stream service could just be shorter. It can like, just because we are now back in person, it doesn't mean that we have to completely change the things that worked or that we're engaging online. We can do both, right? Because a lot of us have already invested in the tech. A lot of people at home have already invested in that tech. And so, you know, you can have shorter services. You can select what parts you actually live stream. And then, like I said, like outside of church service hours, you know, what's stopping the music department from uploading a pre-recorded song on Tuesday morning or Friday or Sunday evening? Or, you know, so like there's no limit to what we can do and upload for free. Uploading is for the free. If you've already been doing pre-recorded stuff, you already have the tools and the technology. It might be a matter of taking a couple of minutes at the start of a rehearsal, or, you know, just to, hey, let's just do a quick, you know, song. And you can even say and be transparent. Hey, we're about to do rehearsal. We just wanted to, this was on our hearts, and put something up. It doesn't necessarily that, you know, we want it to sound good, but it doesn't have to be perfect either. And you can say we are in rehearsal, or you can show some of rehearsal. So there are still ways for the music department and for various departments to engage in documenting the process, right? You might even do something where a couple of weeks you just show, here's how we prepared for Sabbath service, right? Here's how we prepared for this, and show almost like a little mini vlog that's just about the praise team, that's just about the choir, that's just about the band preparing. So there's so many different things we can do. We consume a lot of these content, you know, from secular creators, but not all of it is bad to do even inside of our churches. I believe, Joyce, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I want to say, first of all, that I think that's Restream. You were talking about, you said StreamYard, but there's also Restream that you can use. And it's very good also. And we talked about, the young lady asked about budget. To tell you what a budget would be, you would have to determine that by what you want to do and what you need to do. And that would determine your budget. Plus, when we're making up budgets and our plans for the year, we have to be very creative. We have to have a vision, because what worked in the past normally will not work today. And also, our audience is a big thing, because we need to have our programs, our services geared more toward the younger individuals. I mean, I'm old, but we need to have programs that are geared towards the millennials, and also Generation X and Z, because they're the ones who are gone and not coming. They don't even want to watch online. They'll flip through and go to a different service, especially if something just seems uninteresting. If your praise team has not rehearsed and they can tell that, then they'll go to something else. So we have to be, as LaDonna did say, intentional about what we do, but we have to remember and also determine who our main audience is.
Yes.
And who we want to project to, who we're trying to engage in. And it makes a difference about the mission statement. You mentioned our mission statements, but a lot of us have outdated mission statements. Most churches, that's something that they don't change very often or alter. So the mission statement is outdated. Plus, we don't go to our mission statement and see exactly what it is. So we don't know what the mission is for our church. It's just some things that we have to rearrange in our minds, and especially remembering and thinking about who our audience will be. Who do we want to attract? And just being visionaries and how to attract them, find out what are their interests are, the type of music they're interested in, the things that they want to do, and cater our programs to that. We Jesus out, but we still have to develop good relationships with them. And a lot of times, the relationship that we develop with them will bring them to Jesus.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's it. It is, and that's why I always like when I talk about like doing that internal work and then the external. I always say like it's I before E, just like when you're spelling, right? I before E, except after C. So it's always internal. You have to have a internal understanding as a church and as a team. Before you can start outlining what actions are going to be taken. One of the things that I will say, though, kind of piggybacking on there, is it's not only just about creating a church service. It's about creating the various content and support that that person can engage with that has nothing to do with a church service at all, right? So having, if you know that your outreach is around, maybe you're in an area where there's a lot of food scarcity or people are having various food issues. It might be around, making a budget. You might make a simple video around making a budget and share that, right? You might have a few like how to cook healthy meals on a budget. That might be another video. And so that might be a little series that you do. And you have, maybe you have like an older member teaching a younger member how to cook. You might notice that there's a lot of like latchkey kids in your area. So, hey, here's how you can make your own stuff when you're by yourself. You're not allowed to use the stove. Here are some things you can do in the microwave. There are a lot of little pieces of content that we can create and upload for free. And it doesn't require a big production to do it. And the expectation isn't that it's a big production, because you go, hey, we're shooting this in someone's kitchen. We want to make sure that, the sound is okay. And we know that there are a lot of, kids in our community that are home by themselves. Well, how are they feeding themselves? And so then you become that source of, hey, when we know if we, in the week, this is what's going on. I'm going to go check this. Here's some, microwavable meals, microwavable baking. Or you might notice that there's a push for, there's an issue with high blood pressure in your community. You might want to have a whole series of little short 3 to 5 minute videos on your YouTube or your Facebook that address how to manage and control your cholesterol, your blood pressure. So I think that the change that has to happen is that we have to look beyond the church service and beyond the prayer meeting when we are doing our online stuff, because we can, and because it's what's necessary. People are looking online for solutions, and we need to be able to become that resource. We need to be able to provide them and connect them with the solution if we can't provide them with the solution. And so we can do informative type of content, but doing more than just that church service, I think, is going to be what allows you to engage. When you think about your conversations with your friends outside of church, how much of it is around just the sermon? How much do you actually talk about the sermon over the course of a 7-day period? How much of your life is your conversation around sermons? Is your conversation around the special music? Like in your everyday, it's not as large a percentage. It's important. I'm not saying it's not important. And there are things that we still need to do there. But when we're talking about being online, we want to think about the things that we watch. Think about the things that you're searching for. People are online looking for it. What are things that align with that church mission, that align with the things that the church can actually help in the community, that you could just put online without people showing up in person? And I think that when we start thinking about that, providing content that helps, whether it's a written blog article, whether it's a little mini podcast that you put out and just record using a tool like Anchor, or whether it's a video. I know everyone doesn't like video. They're still written. If you don't like have lights, or you don't like, being on camera, if you don't like to write very well, but you're a very great conversationalist, you can make a short mini podcast. There's a tool called Anchor FM. It will allow you to host your podcast for free, and it will push it out to everything. So there's a lot of resources, and we didn't really get, it's hard to do in like a half-hour time frame. And every church's situation is unique. So, like LaDonna said, Brother LaDonna said, if we want to, want to talk with us more around like working with your church and stuff, that's something we can talk about at, offline. But it's just everyone's case is going to be different, because everyone's community is different, everyone's teams or church membership is different, and so it's just about doing that work. Any other? We're I guess we're going to go ahead and have that 10-minute break, unless there's any other questions.
We'll go ahead and take a break. We'll come
Okay.
back on in 7 minutes.
Wait, is it in the same room?
Yes, same exact room.
Okay.
And folks, this next segment, you really don't want to miss it. Again, lots of resources will be shared, websites, tools, just information that will help you build and grow your online community. So definitely come back for this next session. Invite somebody. Very, very important information will be shared. So we'll see you guys back in 7 minutes.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, I want to welcome everyone back. Thank you again, Paul, for a great session. Lots of information was shared. And I know we are sharing a lot, but we can't, due to time constraints, we can't share everything, but we are open to providing one-on-one sessions, consultation. Our numbers, we will make our information available to share with those who want to go a little step further. Do we have any new individuals here? I'm checking to see if we have a new person, any new individuals who joined us. Okay.
Elder Simmons, I wasn't here this morning. I wasn't in
Okay.
this session this morning.
Okay, certainly welcome you, Elder Simmons. Where are you logging in from? Elder
Savannah.
Simmons? Savannah. Okay. All right. Is that the West Broad Church?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Glad you are on with us. Any other new participants? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to jump right in. We have a lot of information to cover in a very short period of time, but we're going to make it fun and interactive as much as possible. First, I'm going to share some information as far as resources. You guys may want to jot these down. Brady Shearer, he's a YouTuber. He's one of my favorites in terms of understanding church, online church. So go to YouTube, put in the name Brady Shearer. He has tons and tons of videos. He shows you different cameras to purchase. He talks about lighting. He talks about different strategies. He talks about communication. He has different tools for communication. Just a whole plethora of resources out there that you can glean from him. In fact, I'm going to go there right now so we can get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. Just bear with me here. Let me bring this up. Okay. And I'll share my screen. Okay. Okay, so let's share the screen again.
Will this presentation be available as a resource also, or no?
Yes, we are recording it.
Oh,
yes. Okay. So this is his website, Brady Shearer. Lots of videos, just different tools, create change, even if you're not in charge. Social media policy for churches, 7 rules of church communication strategy. So awesome resource. Social media policy for churches, Facebook ads for churches, how to make a successful ad. As Phil mentioned, creating ads. Very good resource there for you. He talks about trends, calendar, Instagram, social media, best time to post. So this is very important. Especially if you have an online presence on social media, you want to know the best times to post when people, he's done research, and so he studied and he knows and you can glean from his research. So just a number of resources. Church cameras under $1,000. Again, as Paul mentioned, you don't necessarily need, multi-million-dollar equipment. You can work with what you have, or just invest in a little bit more equipment. And on here, he tells you how to do all of that. So awesome resource for you there. And so let's go back to this one. And we're going to share this one. Google Analytics. That's the, if you don't have Google Analytics set up, that is something you definitely want to go ahead and jot that down, and we'll go into it just a little further. Alter is a website. It's really an online community. In fact, I want to share that. I don't want to just, I want to show you guys what it's about. It is very handy tool to have. Alter. Okay, oops, that didn't mean to go there. There we go. So let me share that. Share. Okay. So this is Alter. It offers online church services, live streaming events, and small groups for your congregation. Your online attendees will feel as connected to your church as your in-person ones. Now, I know a lot of churches are on YouTube, you're on Facebook, or you're on Vimeo, or even Instagram. What Alta does, it just puts everyone within a small community where you can, well, here's a good example. So you have your pastor preaching here, and then you have your attendees in a smaller window. So if you wanted to have let's say a Bible study or what have you, you can have your participants in here. And as Paul mentioned as well, it's not just about online, not just about the sermon. So if you had a pre-recorded cooking show or what have you, you can put that right in here. It will show as if it's a live program, and I'll show you guys how to do all of that as well, how to make your pre-recorded content appear as if it's a live program. So you have your participants in here, and then you also have your chat box here, and then you can also have breakout sessions within this program. So it's great for Bible workers. So, now that we're all virtual and they can't really go door to door, they can have their online Bible sessions within a program like this, where they can invite the individuals to just join in, and then they can have their live sessions. It's almost like a Zoom platform, but a little more interactive. So that's something you can take a look at. And let's go back here. Live Pigeon, that's the one that it shows as if you're streaming live, but it's pre-recorded. Let me go there so you guys can see that one as well. And that's a tool that I use on a weekly basis. In fact, when I mentioned prayer meeting, that we restream the Sabbath service, I use Live Pigeon. So I'm able to take a pre-recording and it shows as if it's live. So I will show that in a second. In fact, I'm going to log on so you guys can see. Well, let me log in first before I second. Save. Okay, so let me share screen again. Share. Live Pigeon. Share. Okay, so Live Pigeon, very nifty tool. This is something I use on a weekly basis. And as you can see, you can connect to these various platforms at one time. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all at one time. And so when I come in here, I'll go to my dashboard. Okay. So this is my incubator where files are saved. and these are files that I upload. I've uploaded these files. So I can just go right here and let me see. I can go live now, or I can schedule. So let's say I want to schedule. So Wednesdays, I'll come in here, I'll connect both to, Facebook, YouTube. I'll connect all at one time. So let's see which one I'm going to do. I'm actually not going to do it live now because they are actually doing a program. So, but I'll just show you guys. So here we are. Go live now. So if you wanted to go live right away, boom, you can do that. If you want to schedule, so you pre-schedule. So if, in fact, let's see, let me go back to my incubator because I'll just go ahead right now. This is the service from this past Sabbath. I'm going to go right now and schedule it to play on Wednesday because this coming Wednesday, they're not having a live prayer meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule this right away. So let's go here. Okay, so Wednesday, which is the 9th. And I wanted to show it 7. I'm just going to I'll come back in later to change this, but you do want to put a title and a description. And next, then I select from my incubator. That's not the one. That's it. Okay, so again, I'll come back in here and clean it up, put my title, put my description. I only connected to YouTube, but if I connected to Facebook and Instagram, we would have seen 3 different profiles here. And so Wednesday at 7 o'clock, this shows up as if it's a live stream. Even on YouTube, at the bottom, it says live. People are not able to fast forward or what have you. They're watching a live service. And then during the live service, they are online greeters. They're interacting with the folks watching live. Same thing, you can do pre-scheduled programming, cooking shows, health nuggets, a number of programs, and you can show it as if it's live. You can even put a bunch of files together and have a concert. I've done it where I've gone on YouTube and I've stitched together videos from different groups, and I'll play it as a live segment. So there are a number of things you can do there with this. So again, it's Live Pigeon. There is a cost to this, but very, I use it every week. So it's well worth it. So if for example, if you wanted to pre-record your Sabbath services during the week, and then, and then play it live at 11 o'clock on Sabbath, you guys don't have to be there at the church, but it's already pre-recorded and it shows as if it's a live program. Of course, when you record, you don't want to give any reference to date or time or whatnot, or you can say, happy Sabbath, today is whatever date, because it's going to show up like a live program. So that I want to show you guys another thing. So Live Pigeon is one very nifty tool. Okay, let's go here. Back to presentation. Okay. blesseveryhome.com. Very handy tool to have. And I'll go to the website so I can show you why. Just give me a second. Okay. Let's go back here. Share. Oops. Share right here. Okay, so here's the website, blesseveryhome.com. What is this website? What's so nifty about this website? Okay, I'll tell you. This website is a tool where you can find out the people living within your immediate community. You get, whether they just moved into your community, whether they've been in the home for a number of years, you get, if it's a single home, how many kids they have within your immediate environment. Blessed Home gives you the tools to become a light for Christ in your neighborhood. And you guys can read more about it, but very nifty tool to have to know who's in your neighborhood. Because a lot of times people will just say, hey, we're just gonna do mailers. We're just gonna mail flyers, and you don't know where and who will receive those flyers. So it's very important to know who's around and who's actually receiving your information. Okay, it's like going from legally blind to eagle eyes on your mission field. These are folks that are in your neighborhood. Another tool, I know a lot of people have Ring. Ring has a feature where you can communicate with people within your immediate community. You can post announcements on there or different events. I believe another one is, this is the other one. Somebody help me out with that. There's not DoorDash. It'll come to me. But this is this is a tool. It tells you how long they've been there. This is your immediate neighborhood, so you can see a good sense of who's out there. Okay. It tells you all of that. Map of your attenders, so on and so forth. And it's all about tracking your information, not just putting information out there, hoping folks will actually receive it. This is more to it than that. Facebook also has a tool. It's called Facebook Target Marketing. You can target people within your area. Very inexpensive way to promote your upcoming events. So that's one. So we'll go to this again. Okay, church online platform, that's another one. We'll go visit that as well. Okay, let me share that screen. Okay, and here's why I like this particular tool. It's more interactive than, and basically what with this one, you pretty much, you have they will provide a page for you. So there's a link once someone clicks on your website and it takes them to another page. But here's the reason I like this one. I'll show you guys just a moment. Okay. That's not the one. I wanted to show you what the interface looks like. But anyway, what it does, it'll have your player And then next to your player, you will have the chat feature. It will also have, oh, we'll get to it from, I don't want to just say it, I'll show it. 1 second. Okay, online chapel. One second. Show you guys. Okay, let me share the screen. Turn this down. Okay, let's go here, share. Okay, so this is what the interface looks like. So you have the player here, and so you have the video here. I don't believe I'm able to scroll. Request prayer right here is a button that you just simply request prayer. And while you're streaming live, you can, there's some trigger buttons. So if it's time for offering, you can trigger that button and your online viewers could just click the button. So boom, it's all right there. Within it, you have notes. So if you want to take sermon notes, if you want to have access to your Bible, it's all right there. The giving tab is all right there. And the chat is there as well. So you're part of an online congregation. So this is a nice tool to have. Again, yes, you can have that YouTube experience where, you know, they're simply watching the player, but there's no way to engage with them. And then of course you have where you can, you know, the folks can clap, they can, you know, say amen or what have you. So that's another nifty tool. All right, let's go back here. So another one I wanted to share. Okay, I'm going to share another. Okay, I just shared the onechapel.com. In terms of having access to content, Christian content, there's a lot of Adventist content out there. Okay, you can go to Adventist Media and you will find content. The only thing about that for me, their content targets a certain group. You know, it doesn't seem to target us, the regional conferences. And so a lot of their content is just, it's geared to one race for the most part. I'm not saying all of it, but a good portion of it. So there's a website out there that they've produced quality content and they allow you to download and use their content. So let me go there. Okay. Let's go here. Share screen. And it's openlife.church. Very nifty website in terms of finding content that you can, no, I'm sorry, that's not the one. It's network. 1 second, folks. It's open network. That's what it is. Open. Yeah, 1 second. Sorry. 1 second. I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment. Yeah, there we go. Let's go back to that. Share screen. Okay. So this is another resource. Just a number of videos that you can download and use. Different videos, dealing with different resources, trainings, community, number of ministry training, church photography. Does your church need? This is what is this one? You know, different categories here. So very good website if you're looking for content. There's no cost to this. You can use the content and play it back through live pigeon, and it shows up as, you know, a live video. So that's one, right? Different categories, right? Let's go back here. As far as tools for streaming, StreamYard, as Paul mentioned earlier, and Wirecast. Wirecast, you can stream to a number of platforms at the same time. StreamYard, you can do the same thing with StreamYard as well. Wirecast is about $700, I think, for one computer. StreamYard is it's a monthly payment with that. Okay, so those are two tools that you can use for streaming. Now I want to show you guys a video. We were talking about virtual church and how different ministries are finding creative ways to engage their audience. And I mentioned the metaverse. So I want to now show this video on the metaverse. And let's see right here. Share screen. This one.
Excuse me.
Supposed to be able
We
to
don't hear
hear.
anything. We don't hear
You
anything.
guys are not able to hear?
No.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's fix that. 1 second. Let's stop sharing for a moment. And more. Okay, I've got to share my computer audio. Okay, I'll send this as a I'll send it as a link to everybody so you can see it. But basically, it's a virtual church where you wear the VR goggles and you're in this virtual world with other people, having that experience with other people is what it's about. Okay, let's see. Oh, share sound. There we go.
of the verse I was reading, which made scripture much more meaningful for me.
Yeah, I believe the future of the church is the metaverse. I think there's many reasons, but one of them is because it reaches people who can't physically go to church.
When you become chronically ill and you can no longer participate in what everybody else is doing, slowly but surely, people fall away. So it's been just myself, my husband, and our cats, until I found Virtual Reality Church.
I baptize you, Daisy Petals, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So Daisy,
suddenly you're empowered again. Suddenly you matter again. Suddenly you're human again. Suddenly it just feels like you could do anything in the world again, where you were just told over and over and over again you couldn't do anything.
I baptize you now in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Theological reflections is like our bodies matter in part because God came in human form and showed great compassion and empathy for the embodied human. And so as we meet more and more in digital spaces, what are the implications for that? Even, Jesus says, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there. And Christian theologians have not yet grappled with what that means when they're gathered in digital spaces.
You find even in this moment a sense of being alive.
So many congregations, and this is all denominations, religions, they think the building matters. They think that the church is the building, or the mosque is the building, or the temple is the building. It's the people. It's the stuff you do together. It's the way you change the world together that is the church or the temple or the mosque or the synagogue. And so we don't have that illusion.
Each avatar represents a real person with a real story. So it's not the pink-haired, puffy jacket that you're talking to. You're talking to an individual, and we're really connecting our spirits in our relationship. It's just a wild what we can do now. I can't imagine in 8 years what it's going to look like.
Okay, so just wanted to share that. Now, any questions before I do want to share a church that has made a shift. They changed their set. They changed the way they presented their messages on Sabbath and how it made an impact. Very small church, very conservative church, but the change they made such a major impact. I took note of it. They were not, they were willing to make a change from their traditional layout, that traditional Adventist set. And, with the red carpet and the red chairs, all of that. And it just made it, small change, but huge impact. Any questions before because I'm going to show you guys the church that I'm referring to. I'm going to show you the number of subscribers they have versus another church that's pretty well known, just to give you a sense of, how small changes can make a huge impact in terms of your online presentation. And then once we go from there, I'm going to go into the how to look at your analytics. I'm going to actually go to a church and show you the analytics and show you, how many people view live when they drop off and so on and so forth. So any questions before about all the stuff, all the websites that I showed you guys? In fact, let me bring them back up. I'll put them up so you can see.
Elder Simmons, I just have one question.
Yes.
Yeah, so what you just got through showing the virtual church, what application was that? What?
That's just a video. That's called VR, virtual reality. That's I don't know if you've heard Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. CEO.
Yes, I have.
Yes,
Okay.
he's talking about this metaverse, and so there's this big push now, where to live in this virtual world, and older folks may not understand that, but the younger generations are will gravitate that way, and they are going that way, because church for this new generation is different. It's not being in the pews. So, you know, there are different tools out there. Any other questions?
Yes, I'm Cecilia Dawson. I'm currently working with Berean Church as a Bible instructor. And my question is, what was the name of the SDA content resource that you mentioned earlier with the free training?
Well, I mentioned the Adventist media. If you go to Google and you put Adventist media or Adventist church, let me go there. Give me one moment. I'm going to go there so we can see Adventist. So there. One second.
It was the resource that you shared prior to the Meta.
Okay, but that's not an Adventist. That's just a Christian resource. That's not Adventist. It's just Christian content. But that is, let me bring it back up. 1 second. Okay, share. Okay, it's onechapel.com is one of the sites, and openlife.church is another site. And I do want to show this one particular website. 1 second. I want to show you guys how I was just really impressed with their website, and it just feels inviting. It just gives you a sense of community. Okay, this is the site I want to share. And it's okay to look at other churches and other websites and just see what they're offering, because they do the same thing. But this particular website, I was just really impressed with what they're doing. It just gives a sense of ministry, a sense of online community. You know, they have something for everybody. Outreach, you know, it's just really says that they are about ministry. Then pastoral care. They have pastors available to pray for their online community, prayer requests, and just different pastoral counseling. You know, so hospital visits and just a number of ways that they're really looking to reach the community, outreach. And this is just, they're highlighting their local outreach and mission trips. And, you know, these are what grabs a person who's looking for an online community. They want to feel that, okay, this church is really making an impact. Locally, internationally, they are involved with their community. So I would be more inclined to give to a church like this, or even attend a church like this. But the website just says community. It just grabs you, and you feel like you're a part of a community. So again, look at different websites, see what they're doing, you know, take little bits and pieces here and there, and work with that. But I wanted to show.
I have a question.
Yes.
These are all excellent resources. I'm trying to process in my mind though, what do I need to do to build the community? Besides just like having the site up, what I mean, like, I don't know what to do with the resources if I had them to actually draw people and, whatever, meet the needs. I'm not sure how to really ask that question, but that's the resource is good. But what do I do at my local church to be able to draw folks and keep them as a part of my congregation?
Okay, first and foremost, you want to know the vision and mission of the church. And that would come from either the pastor or the board. So you want to define, what is your mission? Do you want to create an online community? Then if the church, because if it's just the communication director that's pushing that online community, it's not going to go anywhere because it takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to be intentional. And it does require making changes in your Sabbath programming, your Wednesday prayer meeting. It requires maybe even changing your set design, because now your content is being created for that online viewer. So first you need a plan. You need to find out from your pastor, your board, where do we want to go as a church? Do we want to put time and energy in building an online community? Do we want to be intentional? Or do we just want to just put our content out there and just hope someone just stumbles on it and they receive a blessing and we don't even know that they found it? So again, that's first defining your mission, your vision, and then looking at plans. It's not a one size fit all type of solution. I'm showing the different tools that you can pull from, but it really boils down to, where do you want to go as a church? And right now, churches are moving towards that online community, because you will have more people viewing your services online than actually in person. And this is where the analytics come into play, and I'm going to share that. So you get a scope, because it can help you define your vision and mission for the church. So I'm going to share. Again, I'm the communication director for Berean, so I'm going to give you guys a little insight, behind the scenes type of stuff that I look at as a communication director to help with my planning, my thinking, and how I present information to the pastoral team. And it's not, well, this is how I feel about it or what I think about it, but here's what the data actually says. So let me pull this up and let's do this. Bear with me here. Okay. Let me share the screen. 1 second. Okay. All right, let's share the screen. Okay, so this is a church, a Haitian church down in Florida. They have 38,000 subscribers, okay? Let me do this. Turn that down, we don't need that. Okay, small church down in Florida, very conservative. So this is their current background, which you guys see here. And this was streamed on yesterday, about almost 11,000 views, 38,000 subscribers. And back to what I said about, we are now online content creators. We want viewers. We want people to look at our content. We don't want to just, it's out there and that's that. Because we're fishing for souls. That's the mission of the church. So you want to produce something that is very engaging, interactive. And as Paul mentioned, and if you have engaging content, you can use an ad to draw attention to your content. And folks, I'm not saying this is competition, but as content creators, we want more, we want eyeballs. And there are a number of churches to choose from on Sabbath mornings or Wednesdays or what have you. So you've got to step up your production to make it appealing for those who are not members of your church. Now, those who are members of your church, if you had bad lighting or whatnot, you know, they're a little more forgiving. But if you're actually on this platform, YouTube and Facebook, and you're actually trying to reach people, then you've got to be a little more intentional about your whole presentation. So they changed. So this one was 10,000. Again, I'm going to show you just some changes they made from their previous setup. And this was, no, that's not it. Let's go back to about a year. And you can see their numbers as I scroll: 13,000, 23,000, 18,000, small little Haitian church in Florida. And I'm going to make a comparison shortly. I just want to show you guys, just from making some adjustments in their set design, their stage, how it made such a huge impact. I've been an Adventist. I know change is hard for a lot of people, and just making changes, and this is the way we've done it, and this is the way we're always going to do it. If we have that mentality, again, as I mentioned in the previous segment, that Loma Linda Worthington, you know, I know I'm no longer buying their products because I found something else, but those were staples in the Adventist church. Okay, so this was, let's skip this one. Actually, this was one of the, and I don't want to spend too much time on this this one, but my point is they made a change, and I want to go back to the number of subscribers that they have, because I want to show something else. Small church, very conservative, but made a change. This is the Oakwood University Church, and you see they have 31,000 subscribers. The small little church that made a change in their set layout. We're talking way more subscribers than Oakwood University Church, because they are intentional about how they do things. Now, let's look at some analytics. Analytics, again, will help you make decisions, okay? In terms of who you want to reach, your target audience, and so on and so forth. Paul, I'm going to try to wrap this up with just the analytics here. So this is the back end of your YouTube channel. Now, Facebook also, you can also look at analytics on Facebook. Okay, but YouTube is a little more, you get more viewers on YouTube than Facebook. So in your dashboard for YouTube, we're going to look at a service that was done at Berean on yesterday. We see the number of views here. That was yesterday. And so now I want to look at the analytics for that particular video. Okay, so my analytics, I see my overview, my reach, my engagement, my audience. And if we were doing Google ads, then we'd see revenue. But because churches play copyrighted music, you're not able to play, you're not able to monetize. You see the number of folks that were chatting in here. Okay, we'll go a little bit more into this. Okay, right here. So there were a total of 233 chat messages. So this is when the service first started. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me take you guys somewhere else. 1 second. Shake that. Okay. So at peak, it was 809 concurrent viewers. Okay, that was at peak. So this is about 41 minutes into the service. This is around praise and worship. Okay. 809 is around the sermon time. So you see the numbers. In fact, we can do this. So this is 1 hour into the service, 45 minutes into the service, 1 hour. You can kind of see how it trickles down. And there was one I want to show. That's very important. I want you guys to see the demographics, the countries they watch from. Engagement. Okay. Again, it's a 2-hour service, 2 hours and 3 minutes and 56 seconds. The average view duration was 36 minutes and 51 seconds. That's the average, okay? So just some things to think about as you consider different programming. Okay, and then you can look at the subscribers, how many subscribe to your channel and not subscribe. So here I see there are not a lot of folks, a lot of non-subscribers are watching. So it's my goal now is to make these non-subscribers subscribers. Okay, that's, and so let's go in deeper. Let's look at age. Okay. But it doesn't have enough data here, but it gives you a breakdown. But I will tell you the highest for this particular church would be in this age bracket, which would be somewhere around 35, 36%. In this age bracket, 18 to 24, it's probably 0.01%. Okay, we can look at gender. This was from yesterday, so it won't have all, this one doesn't have the data, but it will show you, you know, males versus females, how many folks are actually watching. So, and it also tells you where they're viewing from. So that's just kind of behind the scenes look at as you think about, you know, are we actually making an impact? Are we reaching people? Are we creating an online community, or are we just simply putting stuff out there just for the sake of putting stuff? So it's very important as you think about growing your online community, the tools are there. The tools on how to build your online community, and I'll bring up the screen again, just shares pretty much the tools that I use as a communication director to help me along the way. Let's bring that back up. Now you will find, well, I found when I became director of that, there wasn't really a communication handout, a handbook to guide me along the way. So you will, as a communication director, you will have to just jump in there and, you know, and use your data, use the information you have to guide you in making decisions. And these are the tools and resources that I use. Brady Share, excellent tool. You know, gives you insight on, communication strategies, your online strategy. So you can take these various tools and create a strategy for your church. So it's just taking information, creating a strategy, and as you create that strategy, share with your pastor, your pastoral team, share with the board so they can see the information, so they can have a clear bird's eye view of what's actually happening. And then that way you can make different decisions. So if something's not working, try something else. And if it does work, keep on doing it. I just have to keep saying it. We are content creators now, and there's a lot of competition out there. Any questions? I'm going to wrap up the segment because Paul does have to present as well, and we're running out of time. So I'm going to take a couple of questions. Again, I can share a lot, but we don't have enough time. I'm willing to spend time and we can look at how to put your strategies together. But we won't be able to do it in this period. But my number, my email, I can make available, and we can go in depth with this. Any questions?
Yeah, Brother Urick, this is Elder Watkins in Augusta. I appreciate all that you've shared so far. I do want to inquire as to other resources that you may have for maintaining contact with visitors. Is there like a communication tool, or do any of these that you've already mentioned have components that will allow for you to be able to make contact with your membership and also the visitors through text messaging or things of that particular nature as well?
Yes, that would be another 2 hours of presenting, because your website really is your storefront, and that's why I showed you guys that the church. You want to utilize your website. You want to have newsletters and where you can have folks subscribe to your newsletter so you can collect their emails, and so you can send nuggets from time to time, or you want to send news about the church or what's going on, events that are taking place at the church. So your website is very important, and you've got to have a website that's very engaging. It feels like, okay, this church is warm and welcoming. But there are tools there. There are tools where you can send text to your members. There are a number of tools, but again, this presentation is just kind of you can't give it all in this time. But myself, I know Paul is open as well. We can talk online, offline on different strategies. Yeah. There was a question: who do audiovisual and website manager? What structure would you recommend? Not sure I understand that. Another question: how does the communication department interact with ministries of the church? Well, communication is really the right arm of the church in terms of disseminating information. And so in order to disseminate information, you've got to interact with all of the ministries of the church. They need to provide information so you can disseminate. So it's definitely the right arm of the church.
If I can, I was the one who put both those questions in the chat.
Yes.
And the first part of the question is, so like at our church, we have a media ministry that does the actual audio visual part, the sound, the recording, the YouTube and Facebook management, but then our communications secretary is responsible for the actual website. So these two things happen in different places, but it seems like to me, they should maybe be one large committee. And so I'm asking what structure you all use at your church, or what would you recommend so that it can be efficient and effective?
Here is what I recommend, and that's an excellent question. And it's one that churches have not tackled. But I believe, and I would recommend the communication director being over media as well as audiovisual. And the communication director would be that they would serve on board, and under them, the media director, which would not be a board position. They pretty much, the communication director receives the vision and mission from the pastor, and then that communication director will then inform and educate the media director and other ministry leaders on the pastor's mission and vision. And but that communication director would be over the media director and audio person.
Okay. All right.
To make
Thank
it,
you.
yes.
Yeah.
But again, we have not set it up that way, but to make it efficient, that's the way it ought to be. Okay, folks, I'm open for questions after the session. My email I will provide, and my phone number. And you can call or text or what have you. Paul, you're up, sir.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Just really quickly, how many people are still here that were not in the morning session or in the first session that we did?
Me?
I was not.
I wasn't either.
Okay, so
I was not either.
okay. So I will go over, I'll try to go over my what I did a little earlier pretty quickly. The recording should be available as well, so you can kind of look at it, but I'm going to do a little bit, I'm gonna try to share a couple of more resources this go around. So if I speed through any information or anything like that, please put it in the chat, and we can talk after or one-on-one in a different setting. But I want to try to give you all some context and then share a few more resources, like a couple of visuals, and we can kind of go from there. Let me share my screen. Oh, I can't share my screen right now. It says that it's disabled. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see my screen now, and try to move through this material pretty quickly this time around, but I want to make sure you all have the same context. So talking about it, that's not all, folks. Showing that your church isn't all sermons. Okay. So we're going to talk about developing that online community. We just went through several really amazing tools and resources. I'm going to try to share some additional ones as well. Name is Dr. McNeil, and I think that it is just imperative that we find these practical digital parallels to traditional evangelism strategies. So I know that many of you are recently elected to the communications department, or to the head of various departments right now. So a little bit about like who I am. So I grew up primarily in Southwest Region Conference. I grew up in small churches, very small churches, and we did a lot of traditional evangelism. Okay, so we did the door-to-door flyers, we did the outdoor white sheet on the side of a building, sound system type stuff. We also did some events inside like the library conference room, things like that. So a lot of experience doing traditional evangelism, friendship evangelism as I grew up. And then professionally, I got into data science and software development, and eventually into more of a digital marketing analytics space. And a lot of my early wins at that time came from incorporating or digitizing some of the stuff that we were doing traditionally at my small church for various companies. All right, so as a result of that, it started to make me think, what can I take from what I'm learning about marketing and apply to the church. And as we all know, prior to COVID, there wasn't really a big technical push in many churches. Some were already doing things, and some were already at least streaming online, but many of us, we just kind of had a website that was like a glorified bulletin board, right? So one thing I'll ask in the chat, how many people are regularly posting content to your church's website and social media right now? If you could just kind of put something in the chat, just say like, you know, we post or we don't post. Okay. And so as I start to think about that, and as we started to move into COVID the last 18 to 20 months now, we have people who see online as being this temporary space. But I think that there has to be a new normal now. We can never go back to what we were doing before, because we have a lot of people who have become accustomed to it, right? They've gotten in the habit of it. They like it. And even before COVID, we were losing a lot of millennials and younger individuals anyway from our church services. So I believe that it's really important that we see that online as another mission field, right? We have the Great Commission that talks about going into, therefore, and making disciples of all nations. Well, 3 times as many people are socializing on social media as opposed to in person, right? You're 3 times as likely. 51% of the world is now on social media, all right? And only 20% of Americans think that it's important to regularly attend church. And again, 20% of millennials, you know, think that it matters to attend church at all. So what we're seeing is that we have another nation, a digital nation, and it transcends geographical locations, right? And so we have to do the work to be able to reach those people. All right, so every church now has the ability to have global reach. Your church basically has the same global ability to reach people the same way that Breath of Life does, right? And so the same way that there are people that may never go to a 3ABN camp meeting or be at Oakwood at the same time that Breath of Life is there, but their lives are still changed and impacted, we can do the same thing. And so we have to look at, we have to be okay with that. And if we can be okay with that, our churches can possibly be even more effective than a Breath of Life church, because we can give true friendship and create true disciples, right? A lot of times with Breath of Life, it's something that's broadcast, and then they can point people to local churches. And as our local church, we can meet those real needs for friendship and support. It's said that in North America, 25% of the population is in crisis at any given moment. And so that's a lot of people who need our message of hope, our message of care, and comfort, that need to meet Jesus. Okay, so let's look at quick definitions. Friend is being a person who we like and enjoy being with, and friendship is a state of being friends. And then disciple, one who accepts and assists in spreading the doctrines of another. So friendship evangelism is where we make friends with the purpose of introducing that person to Christ through lifestyle, through our conversation, and just our live life. But we have to remember to include the part of being a true friend, right? That means not being a fake friend, and being very genuine and authentic. And so we have to ask ourselves 2 main questions. One, or 2 sets of questions. Are we really trying to reach all nations? Or are we just trying to reach other Adventists because we just want numbers? And then are we really trying to bring people to Christ? Or are we just trying to get butts and seats at our church? Okay. And so prayerfully, our goal is to actually genuinely reach all nations as we bring people to Christ. And so when we start to look at it from that perspective, we understand that we need to have an understanding of our audience or of our target area. And many of us are commuting in to our churches. Sometimes our churches are not in our actual neighborhoods. We live a distance away. So our church has become that building that people pass by. It's just there. And we don't always understand what's going on in that community. And so it's important for us to take those steps to understand who we are looking for. So I'm going to share an image here around understanding our audience. And so the first thing we want to think about as we're getting ready to embark on this online mission, and we're learning about all these different tools, we need to understand that people who are seeking are seekers, they are not going to differentiate between different points in coming in contact with our churches. Okay, online and in person need to be the same experience. So if you're very engaging and caring online, that needs to be reflective of what's in the church. The online should be a entry point so that people understand what it's like to be a member and to be a part of the community that is your physical church. That's how we're able to have any kind of a hope of transitioning people from a purely digital space to being in person and showing up physically, right? And the reality is some people may never, as I said before, some people may never come in to the actual physical church building, but we still want to create those relationships. I see a couple of people said that, so someone said they post weekly, others said that they don't post really at all. All right. Your online presence will take care of primarily this first section, which is that person is discovering. It said that a large number of people, and I don't have the stat, I can't think of it right now, knew it earlier, but a large number of people will discover local churches by doing a Google search, right? I want to say it's something like maybe 70% or so. So when they discover you doing a local searches for church, that's where they're aware, they see that you're there, and then they may explore your website. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for you to engage and give them content that allows them to do research and discover what your local church is doing. And that's not necessarily only sermons, but it's also the work you're doing in the community. Many of us are doing amazing things in the community, or if we aren't, we're planning to do amazing things in the community. And so the goal should be to have our online presence reflective of those things so people see it and know that they can utilize us as a resource to receive help themselves, or B, they want to be involved because it looks like a wonderful organization to be a part of and a wonderful community to be a part of. And so this is going to be primarily in your digital space. People are discovering you, people are looking and assessing your site, the content, blog posts, videos, things of that nature. And then we have our next phase, which is the do, visit, and engage. So this can be online. Maybe they are actually jumping on your live and commenting in the chats, right? They're engaging with you online, or they may come visit you in person and visit the physical space. And it's very important that when they do visit, that we are a church and a community that people want to come back to. If I'm hungry, and I used this example earlier, if I'm hungry and I see that there's a billboard for a Chick-fil-A and I get off on that exit, but I go to the Chick-fil-A and it is disgusting, I'm not going back to that Chick-fil-A, right? And so what we don't want is, what we want is that when people show up to our church, they think that this is a great Chick-fil-A and they want to return again and again. And then once they're in the habit of engaging with us, whether it's online or in person, they can start to get that loyalty and develop real relationships and feel like they are part of the community and eventually become a member. As you can see all of these other arrows here jumping back and forth, it's just to show that at any point, no matter what phase someone is in, they can go backwards, they can go forwards. It's not necessarily going to be they saw something online, they came to church, they did, the New Beginnings, New Believers Bible study, and now they're a member and they're on fire for Christ. Everything is not as linear anymore. Now there's a lot of jumping back and forth in loops. And so it's very, very important that we remain consistent in what we are doing, because we don't know what phase people are joining and discovering us in, and we don't know if they'll stay in that phase. Things, life, circumstances come up. Think about your own relationship with social media, how often you might watch someone's content every day for like a month, and then you don't engage with that as much. Or you may have friends or family members where 2 or 3 of your friends are super close to you for 6 months, and then you might not talk to them for a year after that period, not because anything has happened, just life has happened, and once you all get back together, everything is great. And so we see that in our seeker journey. So in order for us to really create these great communities online, we have to do some internal work. Okay, we have to get ready before we can go out into the digital nation, so to speak, right? And so we first need to kind of identify, as we talked about figuring out our audiences. We want to look at a mix of traditional and digital solutions, conversations with people in your surrounding area, just to know what's going on in that immediate community is always helpful. Doing surveys as well, just getting a feel for what are the needs. Do you have a community that is full of latchkey kids, or are a lot of the people in your community struggling with heart disease or obesity? Having an understanding about whether there's a lot of social justice issues that are happening in your community. You want to know what those things are. And then we've got some digital tools. So I'm going to switch over really quickly, and I didn't do this earlier, and I'm going to share a couple of these digital tools. So there's Google Trends, which allows you to see kind of like an idea of the volume of what people are searching for, or how many people are searching for a particular topic on Google in your area. And then Answer Socrates is a free tool that allows you to type in some topics, and it will show you the questions that people are searching on Google. And these are great so that if you start making various video content, various blog content, you can use some of these things to shape what kinds of questions you should be answering in your blogs, what kinds of questions you should be answering in some of the videos or the audio that you make. As well as there's this paid tool called Ubersuggest, which I love. It allows you to see not only some of the search that's happening, it's more on a national level, but what is happening, like what people are Googling in the country, but it will also show you some of the top blogs that are coming up for that topic. So you can then look at them, look at the title that they're using, look at the structure of their post or what they're doing on their page that seems to be getting a lot of traffic to come to them, and you can copy some of those things. So let me, can you all see my entire screen now, like my all my tabs and stuff too? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I didn't come up with all of these strategies. The North American division has a big data and social media department. It's a small department, and if you go to sdadata.org, it will give you a lot of practical help as far as how to go about reaching people online for Christ. If you click on the blog, so some of the strategies I have had and that I've learned from my years of doing marketing are put into, there's a book. This is actually a free handout. If you look here, you can go to this blog and download this free guide, and it is a wonderful resource for you. It covers some of the best practices. It covers some of the platform breakdowns, and it also has a lot of really great questions and worksheets. So it tells you some of the stats. This is a great section for when you have to go back to your pastor and ministerial team, and they are not necessarily as supportive as you would like. You can get a lot of great data. So you're not coming with why you feel you should be doing more or you should have an investment. This is real statistics. How many people, if we're trying to reach teenagers, we see 72% of them are on are on Instagram. We should be on Instagram, right? And so they talk about the podcasting. So this is a wonderful resource. It's there's a book that they've also put out, which is a little longer than this, but this is about 94 pages. It's not too bad of a read. It kind of does a really nice breakdown, more than I can cover in this time. So please check that out. Again, that's on the sdadata.org. But answer Socrates. So if somebody could just share with me something that's going on in your community right now, we're going to use that as the keyword. Just anything. What's something that's a pain point in your community?
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Okay. So we've got Black Lives Matter and so we'll do that. Black Lives Matter. So when we search this, it will say, ignore that no questions found. So here are some of the questions that people are Googling right now that have to do with Black Lives Matter. And so you can actually download the CSV, and this can now become, if you're not sure of who to target or what kind of content to post, you might be able to answer some of these questions, as far as like what's it taught us or however this may work. Now, I know that many churches don't often deal with social justice, so make sure that you are aligned with your church's mission. And we're going to get to that in a second. When you're looking to create this content, you want to make sure that you're aligned with your church's mission. I know that it's still kind of controversial whether or not we go with Black Lives Matter. So let's do another one that maybe let's talk about something like domestic violence, right? This is one that affects many of our, oh, I think I misspelled it. Is it violence? Yeah. And so we see questions that people are currently looking. What are the 5 types? We can see people talking about charges and casework. So maybe your church is equipped to deal with this or knows resources. You might be able to put some things out around that. Let's go here. If we search here on Ubersuggest, which is another tool, we'll be able to see in America, like the volume, there's a large, every month, 135,000 people are searching for domestic violence or searching for shelters. So maybe we can create posts that are around that shelter. And let's look at some content ideas. So if we click on this, what it will do is it will show some of the top blogs and some of the top pages, and we can look at these and get an idea of what we can do on our own. Similarly, we can type that same thing here on Google Trends. Now with Google Trends, the reason I like Google Trends is you can actually modify this to be your area. So maybe I'll click, let's see, can I do Charleston, South Carolina? Let's do that. And I can see over the last 12 months in this area, we can see the interest over time and get an idea of, how many people, when are the times, looks like October, May, over the last few years, we've seen that this has been searched quite a bit. There's been quite a bit of interest. So maybe in October or May, we might want to share some things. So we can just see various trends that can help shape what we are actually going to put together for our communities. All right. All right, let's continue here. The other thing that helps is developing a persona, which is putting together a detailed fictional character. As you can see, this is not a real person, but building out this person that really embodies the community or our target audience. This is a wonderful exercise for helping your team get on the same page and to truly ask the questions of how can we understand what people are looking for in our community? And if you can understand what their core motivations are, you can create real relationships, right? You can look at the common needs and values, and you can become very accessible. And the key when also looking at this stuff internally is to make sure that you have a firm understanding of what your church and what your department can realistically offer. It's better to under promise and over deliver. It's better to focus on just doing a couple of things online consistently than trying to do everything here and there. Okay, so streamlining those efforts, especially if you're at a smaller church with a smaller budget, you want to try to have an understanding of your audience so that you can focus and hone in on the tools and the platforms that you're going to use online. So the NAD, again, from the same big data site that I shared, and if you go in that blog article, some of the stuff is in there, but the basic structure that they have is that there are basically 3 types of people that can help out with digital ministries. They fall into 3 categories. Some fall in just one, some fall in all 3, some fall in 2. It just depends on the person, but there's the content creators. These are your bubbly types, or they're maybe your writers. They might not be as bubbly, but they write really well. These are people that can package the gospel in creative ways, all right? And then you have engagers. These are the people that are, some are going to be online, some are going to be in person, some may be both, but these engagers are people that are going to really, their job is to reach out and engage. So if people are commenting on your live stream each Sabbath, you should have some dedicated people who are just there to communicate with people as they message so they feel heard, right? And so that they are heard, not even just feel heard, so that they are heard. As well as we talked about making sure that when they come from online to being in person, we want to make sure that their experience is engaging as well. There should be people who are dedicated to making sure that they are targeting visitors and new members and making them feel as loved and as welcomed as possible. And then there are distributors. And this can be in the form of like what's called a pod. And so every time you put out content, okay, you want it to get the largest reach ever. How do you do that? Well, within the first hour, 24 hours, you want to have as many people engaging with that piece of content. So just ask your members to get on and engage. And that's where they can fall in. They can get on, they can like it, they can reshare it to their community. What that does for the Facebook and social media algorithms is it makes people say, it makes the algorithm say, people are engaging with this. Let's show it to more people who are like the people who have just liked, commented, and shared, and they may like it too, because they're in the business of keeping people on their platform longer. So if you are showing that your engagement or that your content is going to keep people on there, they'll show it to more people. So it's a wonderful way of getting organic engagement. Okay. And in addition to understanding these roles and identifying on your team who fits these different roles, churches should be doing this definitely on the overall scale, right? But in addition to that, also assess, just like the Lord talked to Moses at the bush, what's in your hand? What do you already have? I know a lot of us are seeing a lot of different tools and things like that, but try to develop an immediate plan that is just with whatever you already have right now. What can you do with what you have right now that doesn't cost a dime? And then how can you either make it more effective?
Paul?
Yep.
I do apologize. I'm getting a message that they're inviting folks back to the general session.
Okay.
So we have to end right here. Unfortunately, we have to end right here.
All right. Well, here's my information. If you would like to communicate for some more practical coaching offline, as well as if you check that, like I said, that resource will be very, very helpful.
All right, thanks everyone. You have Paul's information. I posted my information earlier, so any questions, we can definitely do one-on-one coaching. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you guys in the general session.
Thank you.
Oh, I ended it.